and it's time for this week's edition of First Impression Friday. And today I bring you guys a brand new palette that I am very excited about. I just got it this week. Too Faced has done it again. So I think it was last year we got the peanut butter and jelly palette, which was so incredibly anticipated. And this is the new one of that. It's like the cousin of that one from last year. So this is the peanut butter and honey palette, and it smells just like peanut butter and honey. They did something really cool on the packaging this year, which is adorable, by the way. So many of you guys asked in the last review video, and I'm pretty sure I used this palette in a tutorial as well. Well, the one last year, the peanut butter and jelly palette. But I got a lot of questions about if you're allergic to peanuts or peanut butter, could you still use this palette? And I didn't have the answer to that question, and I bet they were asked so many times. That is why it is on the packaging this year. It says, don't worry, sweetie, this product doesn't contain any actual peanuts. So if you're allergic to peanuts or peanut butter, I think that means you would still be okay to use this palette. So the packaging is the usual Too Faced tin palette packaging. It's growing on me. I must admit, like when the first Naked 2, Naked 3, Naked Smoky, like when the first 10 palettes were coming out, I wasn't really that into them, but it's growing on me. And the other really awesome thing, I don't know if it's gonna read on camera or not, but the word honey, in person, it actually is raised and it looks kind of like it's got a glossy taco on top. Hi, Christine. But it looks like it's raised and glossy and like it's made out of honey, which is really awesome. I love the texture and I love the adorable little bumblebee. 2 minutes in, still talking about packaging. So I believe that there are nine shadow shades in here, and I'm using 4 of them on my eyelids today. Dogman came in here when I was doing my makeup and he was just like, oh my gosh, this smells delicious enough to eat. And I know that there are a lot of memes on the internet about the Too Faced palettes, like the chocolate bar palettes and these palettes where kids accidentally do get into them and eat them because they smell so incredibly delicious. And this one does have a honey smell as well. The smell is just slightly different than the peanut butter and jelly palette, if you guys remember that. But this is a perfect palette for people like me who love these kind of brownish, almost reddish brown tones, like deeper, grungy, dramatic tones. I feel like you could use the softer colors in this palette as well if this kind of thing is not your thing. I feel like it's versatile enough for everybody. So oh my gosh, there is a mirror. I was about to say my only gripe is there's not a mirror in here, but I'm just an idiot. There is a mirror. And there is also this little fold out step-by-step guide. They tell you how to create 3 different looks that you are supposed to be able to accomplish in 3 minutes. And that's the only part where I'm like, what? Like, who can do eyeshadow in 3 minutes? I don't even have like one eye partially sort of blended out in 3 minutes, like my first base shadow color I can't apply in 3 minutes. I can't imagine doing like a 5-6 step eye look in 3 minutes, but you know, whatever. There's probably many more accomplished makeup artists in the world, and maybe with great skill comes great speed, but not in my life. So I'm just gonna go through shade by shade and we will do some swatches, and I will tell you guys what I think about each shade. So we're gonna go row by row this time. Actually, first of all, how about if I give you guys a quick up close, I almost said sneak peek, but it's not really a sneak peek when it's a review. First shade is called Creamed Honey, and I use that as my all over base today. I love these types of shadows from Too Faced. For my skin, they're not really depositing too much of a visual color, but they are so shimmery, but like a light, pleasant shimmer, not overdoing it on the glitter. It's just like, oh, like a little bit of sparkle is there, like a little bit of pixie dust. Next shade is called Be Sweet, and this is a light pinky sort of shade, very much like a matte baby pink, like a very, very light ballet slipper pink. Up next is Queen Bee, which in my opinion is another perfect base, and it is a great matte base. Absolutely no sparkle in this one. It's not really like a true white, but it is a very light beige, almost like a eggshell white, which isn't that like what everybody paints their house? Sometimes, everyone, sometimes. What am I trying to say? It's very late at night. It's 4 in the morning to be exact. Next is the shade Peanut Butter, which is a classic shade. And I think that this has been in a couple of palettes before. I know that this was listed as the inspiration shade for the original Peanut Butter palette. So it's only fitting that it would be in this palette as well. I'm so happy to get that shade. I feel like the peanut butter palette I had was getting a little long in the tooth, so I'm very happy to have a fresh one of peanut butter. I used that shade all the time from the original peanut butter palette. That's kind of like my transition crease shade today, and I love it. It's almost like an orangey brown or a reddish brown. It's just not like a standard brown shade. You know what I mean? It's the color of peanut butter. That's pretty much the easiest way that I can describe it. Up next, we have Honey Brittle, and this is a lovely orangey shade. It sort of reminds me of a shade that we saw in the Royal Peach Kylie palette, but a little bit softer. The more you blend it, the less vibrant it is. So I feel like this is one of the more versatile shades where you really could get that bright salmon, almost corally color, or if you blend it out, it almost becomes like a softer brown neutral shade. Lastly, on this row, we have the shade that is the most daring in the palette, which is called Honey Buns, and this is the honey shade in my mind. It is a bright golden yellow, and I used that on my lids today, and that was definitely like an out-of-box move for me. You guys know that typically I do very smoky, very neutral looks, but I saw the yellow color and I loved it so much. I just really wanted to create a look with it, and I think that that would be very bright and complementary on everybody's skin tone. Is just a nice pop of color. I also feel like it works with everybody's eyes as well. Like usually more vibrant shades I'm not crazy about with my super blue eyeballs, but I feel like yellow works, or at least it's working for me today. I don't have a problem with it. Last row, top shade describes me perfectly. It's called Going Nuts. And this is probably, no, it's not probably, it definitely is the darkest shade in the palette. Very, very smoky. It almost looks like it has a mauve-y, sort of purplish tone to it, but definitely still in the brown family. I can definitely see myself using this as an outer corner or an under eye shader color. Probably my first or second favorite color in the palette. I haven't decided if this is my favorite or if peanut butter is my favorite, but I almost feel like it's kind of lame to pick peanut butter because we've seen it once or twice before. So I'm gonna say this is my favorite shade in the palette, and it's called Bee's Knees. And that is what I used to deepen and darken my crease today. And I've been blinking a lot. I've had this makeup on for a couple of hours, so I'm not sure if the shimmer is there still or not. It is a very gorgeous, more orangey brown shade. And like I said, it does have some shimmer in it, but I feel like it's kind of one of those shadows that the more you blend it, the more you work with it, the less shimmery that it is, which I kind of like that because you can always pack the shadow on if you want the shimmer. And if shimmer is just not your thing, you can really just work the brush back and forth and basically knock a lot of sparkle out. Knock that sparkle out. Once again, that just gives it a lot more versatility for people who are like kind of on the fence about metallics and sparklies and stuff of that nature. And then the last shade in the palette is another one that I definitely see myself using a lot. I didn't get into it today. It is a nice burnt umber sort of shade is I think a good way to describe this. It's sort of like a yellowy brown in my vision, but definitely a beautiful fawn, subtle brown color. I can see this being a gorgeous all over base, a transition, even a crease if you wanted to do a very soft, natural, neutral look. Just 10 out of 10, love it. 10 out of 10, love this palette. It is definitely one of my favorite palettes that I've seen so far this year. I know we're only 3 months into the year, so maybe that's not saying much, but for my personal life, I can see myself reaching for this one an absolute ton. If you love smoky, brown, natural, orangey kinds of colors, you're gonna love this palette. I do not know how much it costs, but I will link you guys to it. I think that you can get it on Ulta and on Too Faced only. I do not think that this palette is coming to Sephora. I don't know why not. Smell it! The last thing that I wanted to show you guys a clip of really quick is all of the shades swatched together. I feel like that is a very helpful thing to look at, so you can kind of see all the tones working together. You can see the different shades, all of that kind of jazz. That is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I feel like it's been a long time since I've just opened up a palette and looked at it. I feel like the last time I did that was like Battle of the Peaches, like the Royal Peach versus the Sweet Peach palette, which ironically was another Too Faced palette. I don't know, they make a lot of palettes that I tend to gravitate towards and use a lot. I'm gonna go now. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today and for hanging out. If you're not already and you'd like to be, hit that button down below, subscribe, become a member of the Swamp Family and give an alligator its wings. Also, if you want, you can like me on Facebook, facebook.com/graveyardgirl, or you can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, or Instagram at graveyardgirl. Same way it's spelled here. I love you guys so much, and I will see y'all tomorrow.